Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 8 tips for success in journaling. And so if you enjoy this type of content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. Okay, so I recently put up a video of how I have journaled for 7,777 days. It's obviously longer now, but at the time that's what it was. And what I learned from that and why I have kept journaling, what's motivated me to keep journaling. But today I wanted to give you some tips for success of how to either start journaling or to keep journaling, some things that just might help you out a little bit. So I'm going to start with my 8 tips. And then at the end, I have some suggestions of maybe different types of journaling, a little bit more out of the box, or, than just a typical like, oh, I'm writing in a journal sort of a thing. What else you could do that would still be journaling. So that's kind of how it's going to go. So let's get into those tips. So my first suggestion is to get a cute journal or a journal that you like, something that kind of speaks to who you are as a person or maybe what you can afford. If it's a kid, let them go to the store and pick something out. So I brought a few journals to show you. Some of them are a lot older than other ones, but I have a few like these aren't cute, okay? I don't maybe feel like flowers, but these are both from Ross. And I remember as a teenager, I think I'd just go down the aisle at Ross and find a journal that's like, okay, I can use this. Like I needed a new journal. And so these ones are 2 that I found at Ross. So that's an option, especially for kids that maybe are buying them for themselves, is just to have them go to one of those types of stores and to look through and find something that maybe speaks to them. Another option is these bigger journals. I don't know where you can get them besides like church bookstores. So I'm not sure. That's all I got. I'm sure you can find them other places. But this one has my name embossed. Not all of mine that are this size have my name embossed. But it just says journal really big. But it gives you really big pages to journal on, which can be really nice for some people. Some people want something small. Some want them bigger, right? And then some of my more recent journals are from Amazon. Almost everything now is from Amazon that I get. You could also sometimes find cool ones at Costco. Maybe not cool, but like a good size like this. It has a little strap. This one has the pen holder, which is super nice. And then it also has this to mark your spot. And these ones even have pockets. So if you did have things you wanted to insert in, or little like tickets or something you got from that month or that 3 months or 6 months or whatever, you could put it in there. So that's also an option. Erin Condren has some really fun journals that I like. So these ones I use for just daily, like where I saw Christ in my life that day. So you could use it for that. But if you like the more spiral bound approach, sometimes that's easier to write in. She has a lot of these and you can choose what you want the inside to look like. This one's graph paper, but it can just be lined paper. It could be blank if you wanted to draw pictures. And then this is my current like just daily what happened in my life journal. This one does not have a pen holder. This one is from Amazon. So I just have the pen like in the strap at the top, and that seems to work out okay. But again, it has a place to mark it, and this is typically what I like. It's like a good size. It's not huge. It's not super small, and it just meets my needs. So go find a journal that speaks to you, that you like, that kind of works with your lifestyle and what you enjoy doing. The second thing is to get some cute pens, if that's your thing. It doesn't have to be cute pens. Get a pen that you like using. So in my personal journal where I'm just writing from day to day, I don't use colorful pens. You could, but make sure that they're pens that are gonna last a long time, right? There's like the friction pens or something that erase, but they also erase when they get hot and you can't see them again unless the page cools down. And so things like that probably are not a good idea for journaling. So get a good pen. These are the ones that I really like. I'll link them down below. I just get them off of Amazon. They're a zebra type pen, but I love really fine tip pens. That's just my pen of choice. And usually I use black. My husband can't stand using different colored pens in the same journal. It doesn't bother me too much. Especially if you look at my journals when I was a kid, they're like all sorts of colors of pens, but I mostly just use black now unless I don't have other options. But I brought this up. This is kind of my like mom caddy of pens. I don't know again how long all of these will last. I feel like pens nowadays probably last longer on paper. Before it was like you have to get special scrapbook pens on acid-free paper, you know, all these things to like make sure they last a long time. But things are better now. You could use, you know, the fine Sharpie pens. I like the Flair pens as well. And I do use those in some of my journals, just not the one that I write kind of my daily stuff in. There's also these ones. If I can find any of these on Amazon, I'll link them down below. These are another more like fine-tipped felt pen as well. So there's several different options of pens. And it could just be a super fancy pen maybe that you like or something. Maybe it was gifted to you. Find something that you enjoy writing with. And if you want to decorate your pages or have them be different colors every day, you can totally do that as well. My third suggestion is to have a specific time of day that you journal. I almost always journal at night right before I go to bed. And that just ends up being the best time for me because once I get up in the morning and I have personal things going on in the morning and exercising, taking care of kids, it gets a little crazy, but my mind is also clearer in the morning. So you could always get up in the morning and document the day before because sometimes it's easier to think clearly in the morning than it is when you're exhausted at night. And I'm trying to even remember what happened that day. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But I have always just journaled at night. Pick a time that works for you. Maybe it's during nap time. Okay, maybe that's the best time for you to sit down and do it. Maybe it's in the morning sometime. Maybe it's mid-morning. It doesn't matter. Pick a time that works best for you. If you're a crazy person that's up at like 3 in the morning, maybe do 3 in the morning or midnight. I've been asleep for a few hours by that point, so that's not when I journal. But pick a time that works best for you because it's easier for you to stay consistent if it is a functional time for you. My fourth suggestion is to decide what kind of journal it is. Are you writing about your daily happenings? Is it a gratitude journal? Is it kind of like a bullet journal? You know, is it just talking about spiritual things, like just writing down all the ways you saw Christ or all your spiritual experiences, what kind of journal it is. And you could have a few different journals if that's what you wanted to do. And that's kind of how I have it. I have one that I write in every day that just, it can be all of those things combined actually, like what happens that day. Sometimes it has spiritual things if it was something that really influenced my life that day and want my posterity to know about it. I have a separate journal where it's more of a bullet journal where I just usually write one way I saw Christ in my life that day. You could have a gratitude journal that's separate. You know, you don't have to have all these journals. I'm not saying go get a billion journals and overwhelm yourself. But decide what kind of journal you want it to be, because then it'll be a lot easier for you to be consistent. It'll be clear what you're supposed to do with it. Otherwise, you might just get confused and you're like, I'm too overwhelmed. I can't do this and I don't want to do it. And maybe you just want to document your days or think about funny things your kids did throughout the day. Anything like that, but make sure you decide what the journal is going to be used for. My fifth suggestion is to journal with prompts. So sometimes it's really hard for us to think of even what to write about, and we think our days are pretty boring, which sometimes that might be true. They might not be boring to other people though. But if you can find a journal that has prompts, I was going to bring up one of my kids' journals. I've mentioned them several times before. We use it for homeschooling, and it has like a prompt every day, like what's your favorite color? And it goes through 3 years. So you can see each year if it changes, you know, like what's your favorite food? Who's somebody that you love today? Or, you know, all these different things. They're very simple questions, but you could find probably on Pinterest or other places a bunch of journal prompts. You could probably find journals that have prompts in them already that kind of help you think, okay, what did I do today? Or what do I like to do? It could be more of a like biography situation or autobiography as you go through it. And it's more of like a getting to know you type of journal, which is totally fine. That's one way to journal, and your posterity would love to hear about things that you like to do. And so it might help you that way. So if you're stuck and you're like, I don't know what to write about, and my life is pretty boring, I just go to work, I come home, I go to sleep, then maybe something like that would be helpful to help you dig a little bit deeper into you as a person. The sixth suggestion is to set a goal of how often you're going to journal. Is it every day? for like a few minutes or just until you've documented your day. I don't really have a time limit on mine. It's more just like, I'm going to write about my day, and when I'm done, I'm done. Sometimes it's only a few minutes, sometimes it's longer. So am I going to journal every day? Is it 2 times a week? Is it maybe just on Sundays? Maybe it's just once a month. Okay, and it might change depending on what kind of journals you're doing. Maybe spiritual experiences are maybe just on Sundays or something like that. Or you document big family events in a journal. So, you only use that when you have big family events, but you need to make sure you remember. So set goals to look over your journals, to review them, to set them out, something to help you remember that you need to journal and also when you're going to be journaling, because when you set those goals, that's really what's going to help you be consistent at it. And my 7th suggestion, along with setting goals, would be habit stacking, which I think is talked about in Atomic Habits, the book, but put it with other things you already do. So if you get up in the morning and you normally read a book or you read your scriptures or whatever, just put your journal with that. Okay, it's already something you do. It's easy to add something else. Maybe you go sit outside. I've started to sit outside and read my scriptures. So just bring your journal with you while you're sitting outside, while you're reading your scriptures or just enjoying nature, and write in your journal at the same time. Okay, stack it with something that you're already doing that it makes sense with. Obviously, if you're going to play sports, you don't really bring your journal. Like you're gonna, at a timeout, go write in your journal. That doesn't really make sense. So put it with things you already normally do, where it kind of makes sense to fit it in, because then it'll be easier to be consistent at it. And my 8th suggestion is to find a purpose in your journaling. Is it for your posterity, like family history type stuff? Is it for gratitude? Is it for spiritual experiences? I know that's kind of repetitive when we talked about what the purpose of the journal is, but it is important for you to know why you're doing it, because that will help you keep doing it. And maybe you don't start it with a purpose, but make sure you find one in the process. So my purpose in starting journaling when I was like a young teenager was because I wanted it for my posterity. I mentioned this in my other video that I really wanted records they could read, because I didn't have that and I wished that I did, to read about my family. So that was my purpose, and that's what kept driving me to keep this habit, to be consistent about journaling, to write down all these things, is because I wanted to remember it, but I also want my posterity to know about it. So if you find a reason behind what you're doing, if it's funny experiences about your kids, you want them to remember those things, or maybe you want to remember them when you get older and you're sitting there reading through journals. It'll give you something funny to laugh at, when they're not so little anymore, and it's like some things are like a little bit, they still hurt when they're little and they're doing mean things, but maybe it'll be funny one day. Hopefully it'll be funny one day. But find a purpose, because it'll just motivate you more to actually do it. Okay, so those were my 8 tips for success in journaling. But I also wanted to just mention a few other ways you can journal, because sometimes we just think of writing things down and having a specific journal, and that's how we journal. But I had someone comment on my other video I made about journaling that, vlogs, vlogs or blogs or YouTube or all these things, family videos are a great way to keep these records. But also in that, make sure there's a way to access them, because sometimes that is what becomes difficult. Okay, with a blog, can people access that? Maybe print it out and bind it into a book. Or with like vlogs and YouTube, are you keeping track of those things? Do you have them someplace that it's easy for someone to watch them? What if they disappear off of YouTube one day, or YouTube goes away, or, they don't have access to them? Where are you keeping those things? Where are you storing those things? And one day we also might not be able to use the same tech that we have now. So just thinking in that way, because I think that's a great way to document family life, as long as you can actually keep accessing it, because if you can't, then what's the point? But along with, like I said, you might want to print out even like blogs and put them in books. I typed up a bunch of my like beginning journals a while ago. It took a long time for me to do it, but they were in so many different books. Some of the books were falling apart. And just in case all those things did fall apart, I wanted to make sure that I had everything documented in one place. And then my husband just had these printed. He works at a university. They just printed them for me there and bound them. So they're not anything super fancy because I wasn't going to pay tons of money. But this is, I just put it in a Google Doc and then changed it, I think, to a PDF and formatted everything, and then just printed it. So all of my journals, and then I have it here with my maiden name as well, because that's, most of these were written when I wasn't married. And then I put the original spelling and content have been preserved because some of them were written when I was pretty small. And it's really funny. So that's what I put in there, and it ended up being like 2 books. Okay, so 2 books were the best, and I just put the date ranges at the bottom so I knew which book covered which date. So there's that option. You could always just have a type of a journal and then print it out as a book. Another way to document is through baby books. I brought a few in. So this is for my 10-year-old and my 11-year-old. They don't have these specific books on Amazon anymore, but they have some that are somewhat similar. And so, sorry, I've been talking a long time. My voice is like, we're done today. And so I committed before, like when my first child was born, that I could like scrapbook for a year. I'd always wanted to scrapbook, but it was always a lot of work. And then to get all the things was really expensive. So I was like, I can do a simple scrapbook for one, like their first year of life. We'll just go till their first birthday. And I've been consistent about doing that. And so this is how I did it, was with these. And I liked that. I'm in the process of making my 18-month-old his baby book right now. And I was originally going to do it as a Shutterfly book, but I like having the things so I can see them like tangibly here, because I have a lot of stuff that they like got in the hospital, right? Like their hospital bands, or some of them have footprints. She doesn't have footprints, and they have the little paper that the doctor or the nurses originally filled out. Words are hard right now. And then they have, I have some things from their blessing days and things like that. And some of the like certificate from our church that they get when they're blessed. And then the blessing itself that I've typed up. So those things were just going to be harder. I'd have to scan everything in and send it to Shutterfly. And so even with my 18-month-old, where I was like, oh, should I just do a Shutterfly book since we've been doing some for our family for a few years? It just became hard to do it. I'd rather just do it like this. So I am almost done with his and doing it like this. But I just liked having something personal. And then I also write a letter to them, and I put it in the front that talks about their name and why we gave them that specific name. And even though it was hard, some of they don't get finished until a while after they turn 1, but they love looking through them. My kids love looking through them. I love having just the little mementos, again, from like the hospital. Every hospital is a little different. They do different things. And so I just love having them this way. So that's another way that you can keep a journal for your kids. And then in the last few years, we have started doing Shutterfly. This is just the most recent one we got. And I haven't done any of the baby books that way, like I said, just because I like having the little mementos in there that they have gotten from the hospital, or like the ultrasound pictures and things like that. But I have been doing just our family for the year in these books. And it's been good. Like I just put them in files and send it in, and they arrange everything, and then I just write a few things in here. Some of the pictures are silly, and don't really make a whole lot of sense. Other ones make more sense, but it's just fun. And again, my kids love looking through them. They think it is just the greatest thing. And we usually get family pictures every year. So I put our family pictures in there. Just a tip, if you are new to Shutterfly, like I was a few years ago, the best option is occasionally they do unlimited pages, because they'll give you, when you get this book, they'll give you so many pages free, which is like 10, maybe, 20. And usually ours are like over 100 if I'm documenting the whole year. And if we have more pictures, sometimes it's more, and I've had to split them into 2 books. So wait until like you get the book already. It's all ready to send in to be printed. Don't buy it until they send you a text or you get an email that says free unlimited pages. because like this one, I think was going to be over $400. But then when you get that code, it was barely over $100 for this whole book because all the extra pages are now free. And so wait for that. Okay, that's my tip in using it. It's still an investment, but again, it's documenting our family. It's a way of journaling and for us to like remember what was going on through the year. So those are just some of the other ways you could journal. You could spend your time, you know, maybe every day just maybe organizing your pictures if you wanted to do something like that, writing what they are. So then at the end of the year, it's not as overwhelming to go through all the pictures, and it's going to take time. See, I've been playing catch up for the last few years and now I'm caught up. So I can keep things more organized as we go instead of having to catch up again every single year. So hopefully those ideas were a little bit helpful or gave you something you could think about that's maybe different than what you normally hear when you hear about journaling. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you some ideas of ways you could be successful with journaling. Please comment down below how you like to journal. You know, whether it's writing something, maybe it's through pictures, maybe it's through drawing pictures yourself. Just let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback because I love journaling so much. And remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.